Guys, what's up? Snoo here. Welcome back to another video. Well, we have a day 4 update for you. This is currently being recorded day 4, and I'm all smiles because I've had easily, objectively, the best league start I've ever had to this point. I rushed to tier 17 maps, at least in terms of my own pacing. I'm not that much of a racer, but you know, I logged in about 6 hours after the game launched. 8-hour campaign clear, 16-hour double void stones, and one-shot this boss at 28 hours in, and I've been farming it ever since. I still, to this point, haven't even used a single scarab, and I've done this fortress boss, I think, a few hundred times, dropped over 10 yokes, maybe about a dozen yokes, and I dropped a couple of them in a video. I was making 10, 15, even upwards of 20 div per hour. You can do the math. Obviously, a Headhunter was certainly going to be a result of that. I've farmed over 50 div worth of gear prior to that to make this real nice and smooth the process. I've had a lot of great comments from you guys, some surprising comments from people who are re-rolling into this build. I've honestly seen very little in the way of people who are not happy with the build, so that makes me even more happy. And that's despite not coming out with day 1, day 2, day 3 build update videos, which I did last league. I quite often do that, but I really wanted to hit the ground running. It's obvious, should be obvious to you, I was a lot more motivated than normal, had something to prove, wanted to prove that bows could do the premier early endgame farm just like anyone else, or just like the more meta builds. And so that has now been done, I'd say, with flying colors. So we're kind of just tying a nice knot to that whole argument. And so with this video, we'll talk a little bit about, you know, the build update, a couple of deviations that took place, even though this is the second time I've ran this build. Still deviated a little bit on it. The bow craft, getting a lot of questions about that, and as well as like mercenary. So just a few questions there. We'll look at path of building at the end, and then yeah, a nice little treat for those of you who stick around to the very final section of the video. I think it would be best to do most of this video in game, so we can go over some things, looking at the UI and everything. As you can see, I don't have much currency on me. I recently just purchased a Headhunter. This is a record time for me. All right, so 6 days is the fastest that I've ever actually acquired a Headhunter in the past. That's of course without any sort of insane drops. Once again, no insane drops, no crazy outlier loot took place, just good old-fashioned grinding. And then I've even gotten a really terrific glove craft out of the way, which we may make a separate video on later. These will feed into the next variants of the build. It pays really well to know exactly how I'm going to progress forward. This is actually slightly different than the initial upgrade. This is more the tornado shot variant, but I figured out a way where I can kind of weave it into that sort of in-between phase. Already got the brutal restraint that I wanted to purchase out of the way, and then, you know, I crafted a bow using fossils like this. We'll talk just a hair about that. And then we got, you know, the mercenaries. So I am using the meta build. Okay, I am playing meta build, actually, just not me, my mercenary. I thought this Perkle's Toe would be really good. I thought something like Replica and Boost Charge. Doesn't seem to work, though. Got Intimidate here. Got excellent boots. Actually give a major bonus to Elemental Hit Spectrum with the Sapped Ground. Apparently Polaric Devastation's all right. Hadn't really worked in the helmet, gloves, or weapon. The weapon apparently doesn't work anything special here. But guys, I gotta say, the merc just didn't work out. It made the maps, I don't know, it seemed to make the maps tankier beyond what sort of benefits it was giving me. And the worst part of all is that the mercenary would sometimes, you know, in certain ways, aggro enemies before I would. And that's actually a huge no-no whenever you're playing such a delicate class like this with yes, the very low, you know, EHP, and relying on Oath of Winter. It means that whenever I enter combat, I really need to be the one who is initiating combat with, you know, arrows going out, so everything gets frozen instantly, and that just makes for much safer gameplay. It's something I realize in terms of practical gameplay. The mercenary was effectively making the maps way more dangerous for me than if I was by myself. A very interesting revelation, that is, but I, at least for now, I'm not using it. I do want to use a mercenary to boost up magic finding stuff if and when I get to sort of, you know, farming raw drops and stuff, but as far as boss rushing, that doesn't really matter. Oh, yeah, and the mercenary quite often died on that boss when he started doing his spinning phase anyway. Now that I got you here, I guess we'll point out the one deviation, okay? So, you know, a lot of items were way cheaper than normal. Bow builds got to rejoice in a major way. Very cheap. Dying Sun was like a quarter of the price it was last league, just one of the items that was much cheaper. Okay, and yes, I am actually res capping through Dying Sun. I know that's huge taboo, but it doesn't really matter to me. I don't mind playing a minus max res map for the sake of fire res. That Dying Sun is up pretty much the whole time in maps anyway, partially in help with the Flask Mastery. Oh yeah, and the boss doesn't do any fire damage. So the Flask Mastery is terrific with this increased duration, and these flasks are doing a lot. Okay, I am moving fairly fast now, but you know, whenever I, actually pop all these flasks, I mean, I'm just flying, guys. This is pretty fast for, not a Deadeye. Anyway, that's really the only deviation I did, and in order to get that, basically what I did is I pulled Herald of Ice, okay? So Herald of Ice is kind of a fun luxury slot. It's really not super meaningful once you get gear this good. I could have put in Flesh and Stone, wouldn't have been a bad idea. But I ended up pulling the reservation nodes, got 4 points back that way for the same amount of mana, and that gave me what I needed to put points in here. Now, I'm not running the double inspired tech because I never did Legion of Dunes. I did it for like 10 maps, guys. I just did it for 10 maps. It was so easy to make currency through the campaign, just looking at the inventories of those mercenaries. I got a Divine Orb in Act 6 that obviously helped. Getting those leveling uniques was utterly terrific. Quill Rain, Elemental Hill Spectrum by I think Act 5 actually was crazy strong, all the way to two Void Stones cleared with that. It was really good. 5 link, everything. Getting the 6 link, I jumped straight to Spine Bow. I actually skipped the Grove Bow. I didn't spend very much time on Darius's Defiance, was pretty much straight into Hiri's Ire. I got some nice corruptions on some of this gear already. I'm going to be switching out of the gloves and the boots fairly soon. We got perfect tamings. Hiri's Truth here. The belt is, whatever. It's pretty easy craft. Just intelligence. Just intelligence essence spamming until you hit basically all of this, minus the benchcraft. And basically by the numbers. Oh yeah, one more thing. I actually skipped Heat Shiver as well because apparently the Fledgling was so cheap, so dirt cheap this league, that it was the same price as Heat Shiver, which is just freaking crazy. The Fledgling was worth like 10 times as much as Heat Shiver initially on day 2 or whatever. It did drop off pretty fast after that, but anyway. Quick side note, leveling enhanced supports looks to be very, very lucrative right now, so highly recommend, you just put them in there, doing tier 17s, get a ton of XP, even if you're doing Legion Dunes or whatever, it's fine. Because I'm doing tier 17s, I'm not leveling very much. I am halfway to level 95, but I'm running dangerous mods. I really don't mind dying that much. On tier 17s, I'm dying on average like once every 3 maps, but I'm running the whole gambit of, ground effect stuff, all the dangerous mods, really. There are some things I don't want to run, like I don't want to let the monsters run fast. I don't want them to evade the freeze that I'm doing. I don't want them to have a ton of extra EHP, but all that incoming damage and stuff, for the most part, I'm not going to layer like 4 damage mods on top of one map, but for the most part, there's a regex link down below that I'm using for tier 17s. If I was doing tier 16s, I'd probably be level 97 or 98 right now. It would be an absolute joke. Yeah, so here's Unnatural Instinct is another jewel that was a lot cheaper this time than normal. And because I'm running tier 17s, I decided not to take the points all the way up here. This is a pretty costly price to have to go all the way up here and get that second Inspired Learning, but it is worth it if you're farming Legion on Dunes. It's just not worth it if you're farming tier 17. So save a ton of points back that way, allowing me to get these up here. This flask here still being only level 94, and doing all of that. All in all, super satisfied with the current snapshot of the build. Honestly, Headhunter just doesn't even feel necessary at all. I mean, it's going to enable me to do like crazy juicing content, but as far as what I'm doing currently, I think for the next farming video I'm going to do, I'm actually not going to wear Headhunter, just to continue proving the point. The Headhunter isn't really required. But well, guys, that's it basically for the gear, and that's it for the mercenary. One other thing would be, I'm not running Grace, okay? So I'm just, diving into the Warden's strengths, all right? So Haste, Val Haste, really nice popping Val Haste with Avatar. That's a pretty crazy combo. Val Grace is really good too. But I mean, Grace is like the difference between 60 and 70% evasion when almost nothing is ever able to pull off an attack on me. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm starting to have second thoughts. Part of me wants to leave Grace in there just to appease people who are super alarmed at how glassy this build is, but I gotta say, guys, it's definitely a kind of build where you just have to play it. I can't talk about it enough. It's never going to really prove the point. You just have to play it. You have to play it to believe it. Not even see it to believe it, but actually play it. And apparently a lot of people are playing it. A lot of people are loving it. So I've really enjoyed the comments, the positive comments about people who are re-rolling into this build, or people who've been doing it again, people who did it last time around, loved it, and doing it again. And I'm sure there are some people who are staying silent, who are not having a very good time. And you know what? You can let me know in the comments below if that's you as well. I appreciate all the comments, the good, bad, and the ugly even. So about the bowcraft. Now, this is kind of interesting. I guess I can't remember. Did I sell that? Oh, I forgot about this thing. Oh, that's stupid of me. Okay. I changed my tabs around. And I hit this in one try. You can see the end of the video. Last time, the last farming video, I hit this in one fossil craft, which is crazy. All right, this combo here, this is scorched and metallic on a cold fracture. You could do frigid and metallic on a fire fracture as well. It needs to be either cold or fire fracture. And right now, because they remove the elemental res modifiers from bows, these hit almost every time double flat, or will ultimately be triple flat. In fact, it's so common that even if I hit like a couple of high tier flat, but my suffixes are terrible and I exalt slam and I miss, I'll just re-hit it, even if it's like triple tier 3. Now, if it's like triple tier 1, obviously I would maneuver into, like, you know, meta crafting, maybe tier 1, tier 2. But even for one like this, if I hadn't hit the crit chance roll, I mean, I'm just going to hit it with fossils again. All right, but it hit the crit chance roll, so I got lucky there. And, you know, I got this one too, that I hit the crit multi-roll and then slam crit chance into it. So it's been very easy to craft these bows. Essence thing is still okay conventionally. As far as the Recombinator, I can't tell you. I don't know. I haven't even visited King's March yet. Okay? That's not been part of my priority. So here we go, a current snapshot of the build in Path of Building. Now, I've been getting a lot of slack for the way I set up Path of Building's padding and all this stuff people have been saying. So I don't really know how to combat this other than to just go through every single number that I do. It's not something I want to take my time out and do, but I'm really getting tired of people saying that I'm padding numbers. So if you think I am, even when I address it straight up and you disagree with it, fine, let me know. You know, maybe I'll learn something new. But I've already appeased the PoB Mafia several times on this, still continuing to do it. But I guess it's maybe a fundamental difference of opinion on what Path of Building is. I'm beginning to learn recently that many people are seeing it as some sort of simulator in terms of actual bossing combat gameplay, which doesn't make much sense to me because that's a huge amount of variables. For example, a ballista build would actually perform much differently than a regular self-casted bow build when you have to actually dodge and maneuver mechanics. I've always saw this as a literal target dummy damage, in other words, best case scenarios, whether against a boss or trash. And so maybe that helps explain to you guys where I'm coming from this whole time. Anyway, we got Kill All, Soul, our Kali, Abrath, Power Charges do Power Charge and Crit from the boot. Rain of Arrows craft, Frenzy from Frenzy, Maniforge arrows connected to Mirror Arrow bombarding clones. All right, one enemy nearby, that's from a mastery in there. 17% less damage to help offset the unbound buff uptime. Realistic uptime, combustion apparently doesn't register when it gets through the minions. Unbound is up. Otherwise, resonance counter for Trinity is 50, always for Elemental of the Spectrum. Projectile travel distance, this goes up higher if it's 70, but, you know, I guess that's a bit of a stretch. And to be fair, I did kind of realize recently that when you stand over 70 yards away, then, or 70 units away, then your tornado doesn't actually cast, at least not on the enemy, and it indirectly impacts your damage quite a bit. So the tornado is in here also, and this is why the count integer is here from the tornado, not to mention Hydrosphere in here, not to mention returning projectiles, which I did not special config that in. So that's like 3 separate sources that are adding a whole bunch of extra damage, most notably tornado and return proj. So that's why that integer is set there, and it's very real. I mean, you can see the boss's health getting chunked double time in real time, and you can feel that damage there. All right, so the enemy is bleeding because of Storm Rain. Okay, that is doing some physical damage, not to mention Rain of Arrows. Blinded, I now have a tattoo on this now. I have some movement tattoos otherwise as well. Ignited through the minions, Mirror Arrow bombarding clones. You can check the VOD to see if the boss was actually ignited. Scorched, the thresholds are very high. Chill, freeze, 5 seconds, not 10. All right, I guess 10 is too much of a stretch, and you know, in terms of target dummy DPS, it would definitely be 10. But I guess in terms of real combat gameplay, if you're killing the boss quickly, it's not quite 10. All right, so 37% threshold on shock, so that's capped. Chill is 53. And then freeze threshold is 115 million ailment threshold. So that's going to freeze basically everything except maybe uber bosses. And that's, you know, of course, thanks to these incredible gloves, which this double corruption is pretty insane. But I will be shifting out of those to the crafted gloves that I showed you earlier in the video very soon, because we're going to move into the next Headhunter variant with Nimbus. I'll be gunning for Nimbus. I'll be gunning for the Tailwind Onslaught boots as well. Got the gloves out of the way, and I need to do the quiver. So next will be the quiver, basically. Then probably either the boots or Nimbus. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do moving forward. But anyway, guys, I think that's all the configs out of the way. Oh yeah, shock. Okay, you can see the shocks were basically capped. Pinnacle boss, that's tier 17 boss. And you've been able to see I'm killing the boss really, really, really quickly. 31 million DPS. Surely that's pretty accurate when I'm actually able to stand still and shoot and attack, which I'm able to do better than our counterpart, the Deadeye, who has to maneuver out of things because everything is moving at 100% action speed or thereabout. Tinctures might be another question that I get. I've thought about getting Seasoned Hunter. I don't want to go all the way to Experienced Herbalist because that is a real pain in the neck. It's kind of awkward though because, you know, we have some passive nodes that increase the effectiveness of tinctures, but you probably don't want to go all the way with that unless you're going all the way with the Ascendancy side. And if you're just kind of half-assing Seasoned Hunter, I don't know what I pull either. Do I pull Avatar of the Wild? Do I pull Scorch? I'm definitely going to keep both Shock and Oath of Winter for sure. Probably going to pull Avatar if I do that. But yeah, I don't know yet, guys. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I still need to pop that, okay? But I might switch to one tincture for the upcoming Headhunter and Nimbus variant of the build prior to going to Tornado Shot. Tornado Shot is what's in the cards at the very end. Well, guys, that basically wraps it up. All right, so that is the update video for you. Day 4. Some of the key differences, changes. I might have forgot something. You let me know in the comment section down below. And I know I've been taking this league start very seriously, despite being kind of casual when it comes to the initial league start process. You're going to see that sort of melt away as I get into more grinding and more endgame stuff. This is where I begin to shine and where I enjoy the game the most, I would say. I'm really, really enjoying the swapping different variants and plotting it out and knowing exactly what I'm going to do. This is, I think, truly the first time I've ever straight up repeated a league start, and it shows. I mean, that's one of the big reasons why I've had so much success. Obviously, it's a great build. I think this may be the best build I've ever come out with, and I'm saying that despite all the criticism that I've received recently. I'm the one playing it. I know what it feels like compared to before, and again, appreciate all the comments, the good, bad, and ugly that I receive in the comment section. So with that, you know, a lot of memes have been bored out of this whole process. I've been taking this very seriously, obviously, but you know, you don't always have to take things seriously. Sometimes you have a little bit of fun, and I definitely enjoy the memes, even if they're something that were derived out of context. It's okay. It's all fun and games, and so I want to give back to you guys here with a final section of the video that I didn't really plan to do until last night, and I think this is some of my best work yet, guys. On a not so serious note, I really hope you enjoy the end. I had a great time making it, and yeah, it really speaks to how I feel at this time. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for more. We're going to get into some fun farming stuff, a lot of great things. Obviously, tier 17's been wide open for this build, so we're going to do a lot of great things with the Headhunter variant and then some. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.
Unalasot und da verzihi ne flibit communi. Kabakakali kakari hurai jahaish. Isnata jahash. Shihochausich. Shizihik ishitam shapido edemashili. Lukatsash vadzich kalagash. Uzulfabit nairgevi barta wadzich. Jura hagari imashnerilia kala cheske obit. Harda house. O erle chausi jura ha abzir sihi secure tu femni. Dune.
You sound okay?